Welcome everyone to a Nostalgia Trip special. 6 games, 1 video. Buckle up, because this one might be bumpy. The Tomb Raider IP has gone through a few hands, but before this, or even this, Tomb Raider looked like this. Tomb Raider looked like this for quite a while actually. 6 years to be exact. Created by Core Design in 1996 by a team of 6 guys, Tomb Raider was an incredibly successful series. The first game sold 7 million copies, and after that, it only seemed right to put out a game every year. Ultimately, this would go poorly, as it always does for strained development teams, but we'll get to that later. Heavily inspired by Indiana Jones, Lara Croft is a wealthy British archaeologist who joins the ranks of many other fictional persons who make archaeology look far more exciting than it actually is. From the very first game, the series is deeply entrenched in fantasy, usually the kind that builds from something plausible and just gets more and more fantastic as the game carries on. Demons, dinosaurs, dragons, what can I say? Welcome to the 90s. Tomb Raider was an integral part of my young gaming experience. Tomb Raider was my intro into action games, and for a long while, about the only frame of reference I had for that genre. The other games in the house at the time were either Nintendo properties, not exactly known for their adult themes, or management sims, which frankly just don't have the time. This is hilarious to me now, of course, because violence isn't what I think of when I think Tomb Raider anymore. Even in the new games, the shooting element seems secondary to the theme of exploration and puzzles. It made an interesting dichotomy. There are some reviews comparing Tomb Raider to Mario 64, and some reviews criticizing it for its violence. So what is it really then? Well, it's sort of a blend. Tomb Raider uses its enemies to create obstacles and to inspire a sense of tension and danger, but its bread and butter is the level design. The first 5 Tomb Raiders all run on the same engine, but they vary themselves by the environments they play with. Even within the same game, there are usually around 4 distinct settings, and all of the levels feel different, playing with different balances of traps to enemies to puzzles to linear design to non-linear design, and so on. One of my favorite levels takes place inside an upside-down ship at the bottom of the ocean, which, let's be real here, have you ever heard of a cooler environment? Hey, ice levels don't count. Non-linear design in particular is what this series excels at. If you've been paying attention, or have eyes in your head, you might have picked up on the fact that the engine is incredibly square. It's not nice to look at. Every surface, horizontal or vertical, unless it's 2D scenery or a specially made uninteractable prop, is made of standard-sized blocks, or half blocks or quarter blocks, and so on. This is obviously a mechanical limitation, but it's also a design element. Every surface is the same, and what that means is every surface will respond the same way to input. Every surface is climbable. If you can reach an edge, you can grab that edge. I'm sure we're all familiar with games today that don't behave this way, like Uncharted or even the modern Tomb Raiders, games where a ledge has to look a certain way or you can't grab it, and I'm sure we've all experienced moments where that rule feels like complete railroading bullcrap. These games come before that, and what that ultimately results in is a feeling of freedom that, at least for me, is unparalleled. The games are designed this way, designed so that you feel clever for working out a jump, feel like you've somehow outsmarted the game. And because these games were made by such a small team, sometimes you actually have. These games are expansive, intricate, and fantastic for sequence breaking, which means that as a result, the Tomb Raider speedrun community is amazing. Here's a clip from Crits B's speedrun of Tomb Raider 2. See, just gotta kill this guy real quick. Alright, he's dead. Alright, gonna pick up some flares. Alright, flares are good for the flare cancel. What the f***? What? How? How? So yeah, this game has some interesting bugs. Bugs that take advantage of animations that push Lara forward slightly, or seams in 2D textures. Fortunately, it's unlikely you'll accidentally trigger any of these. Still, if you do, you'd better hope you remembered to save. What? Autosaves? No. This is the 90s. Do you know how much disk space a save takes? 8 kilobytes. We can't just go making those willy-nilly. And if you were unlucky enough to play on the PlayStation, you couldn't even save whenever you wanted either. You had to find one of these. Sorry, bastard. That said, these games strike a good balance between brutal and forgiving. There are no difficulty settings, so the challenges had to be accessible for everyone, without being too boring either, and I feel like they accomplished that. Lara's health doesn't regenerate, your ammo is limited, and the enemies and traps both do a great job at catching you off guard. But at the same time, Lara's pistols have unlimited ammo, and a lot of the fights have places where you can climb up out of reach of the enemies and rain fire from above. But even if you're not playing that way, the game gives you enough ammo to, at the very least, scrape by. Especially if you're willing to take advantage of the fact that the AI is, well, really just doing the best it can do. You'll get there, boy. I believe in you. And if you're savvy enough to sniff out the secrets in a level, you can potentially pad out your inventory a little bit more. Each game includes secrets, and each treats them a little differently. Some of them give you a reward after you find all 3 secrets in a level, some give you the reward straight up after each one, and some use the secrets as criteria to unlock a bonus level after the game is over. It's a cool way to reward exploration and taking on extra challenges, since most of the secrets are either hard to find or hard to get to. The bonus levels are pretty heckin' great too. Just ridiculously over the top. I love them. That's Vegas! That's my home! These games were really some of the most creative I can think of for the time. The things they figured out how to do were really cool for the 90s, especially considering how disk space was such a problem. They had special animations for a lot of different things, absolutely brutal traps, and could even fake gravity and physics effects by quietly swapping out parts of the level while the player wasn't looking. The technical behind-the-scenes stuff here is really fascinating to me now. But you might be thinking, Thierry, if these games are so great, why aren't they making the same games now? What changed to turn this into this into this? Well, as great as these games are, they didn't change much from 1 to 5. It's hard to pick one out from the other unless you know the levels. Being on an annual release schedule, Core Design was essentially just layering small improvements over top of a level editor. Granted, these improvements added up to a lot. Tomb Raider 2 added flares, ladders, and vehicles. Tomb Raider 3 added sprinting, crouching, and monkey bars. 4 greatly improved the AI and shooting mechanics, on top of adding the ability to swing from ropes and combine items, not at the same time. And 5 just added a little bit of style. But to today's standards, that still seems like DLC fare, maybe 2 or 3 games at the most, and certainly not enough to sustain a series. It's easy to see how these games could grow dated. I mean, while the freedom in Laura's environment is amazing, Laura's personal mobility, how she handles turning, running, jumping, it's very tank-like. Laura has to have completed 2 steps in her run cycle before she can perform a running jump, no matter when you press the button, and there's no mouse support in these games at all, so you can't control the camera while you're moving. Not to mention, of course, shooting being entirely auto-aim. You get used to all these things, but that's not really a good thing either. Sooner or later, something had to change. Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, the 6th game in the series, released in 2003, to strong initial sales owing to good marketing. And that's about all it had going for it. Well, that and being the edgiest game to come out of the series, ever, even now. Starting just with the opening cutscene, the game is dark and bleak and, hold up, is that a butt? Is that Lara Croft's butt? Okay, alright, time out. I thought I was going to get through this video without making a talking point about Laura's assets, but I guess that's just too much to ask. God damn it, Angel of Darkness. I need some fresh air. When I come back, you'd better be ready to talk about how you've ruined everything. Jesus. More like Angel of Butt. God. Thanks everyone for watching, as always. I hope you enjoyed the lovely 1280 by 960 footage, except where Tomb Raider 1 had to be upscaled from 640 by 480. That's what happens with DOS games. And if you were thinking, wow, even for upscaled, these cutscenes look like garbage, you might be interested to know that these scenes from Tomb Raiders 1, 2, and 3 play in an aspect ratio of 2 to 1. Want to know what their real size is? 320 by 160. That's teeny. Fortunately, from the 4th game on, the cutscenes are also in 640 by 480. That's the sort of perk you get from doubling the disc size. Anyway, that said, if you're interested in HD versions of these cutscenes, there's a really great YouTube channel by Goldfish Gamer that I'll link in the description for y'all to check out. There will also be a link for CritSpeed's speedrun of Tomb Raider 2, which is a really, really cool watch. And of course, all the Tomb Raider games are available on Steam, and Good Old Games has the first 6. They're a bit cheaper on Good Old Games, plus they come with the usual GOG goodies, such as the manuals. I definitely recommend you pick up at least one game, just to see if you like them, because, yeah, they're dated, but they're an important part of video game history for a reason. And, I don't know, I still find them really fun. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for the next Nostalgia Trip, where I'll tackle Angel of Darkness. See you then!